Hi, everyone. My name is Taylor Wetley. I'm the U.S. Commercial Manager for Solinftec. Appreciate the time to talk with everyone here. I'm going to talk a little bit about Solinftec as a whole, or our company background, and also specifically around Solix, which is our autonomous unit. If I can get this to work. There we go. And so Solinftec as a company, we were started in Brazil 17 years ago. And specifically, the founder started working in sugarcane. So for those that aren't super familiar with Brazil, it's the largest sugarcane producing country in the world. And with that, we started working with our customers that were very vertically integrated. And so across a lot of our solutions, what we were utilizing is software coupled with hardware and onboard computers alongside artificial intelligence in order to help make those fleets more efficient. So classic example is if you have a sugarcane harvester, how do you keep that expensive asset continuously moving in the field? You do that through unloading and kind of coordinating those wagons to the mill in order to reduce stop time. So that was a core solution and is still one of our core solutions. Since then, as a company, we've grown to around 800 some employees, mostly focused in the Western Hemisphere, US, Canada, as well as Brazil, Colombia. And so with those solutions, we then grew into a variety of different crops. So kind of here you can see our trajectory as a company. So from sugarcane, we then grew into row crop, corn and soybeans, cotton, as well as different crops such as citrus, even timber. And then here recently in the last 5 or 6 years, we started in the US. So we're headquartered in West Lafayette, Indiana. And what we did specifically in the US market early on was take a lot of that technology, that efficiency metrics, and apply that to ag retail. So cooperatives that are applying herbicides, chemicals, as well as spreading fertilizer. How do you take that large fleet and optimize that? So that was one of our early solutions, and here recently is really where we've launched our autonomous platform. And so here's just a visual a little bit of the company, Purdue University, one of our close partners. On the bottom, you can see some of our North American retailers as well. Across all of those solutions, really, that's how our autonomy platform was born from. We were missing what's going on at an agronomic level. We were understanding different fleet efficiencies, telematics, everything like that. However, what's going on in the field, plant by plant. And so that's really what the Solix Autonomous platform was born from. And the first layer of that was the scouting piece. So having something living in the field, understanding emergence, understanding stand count, understanding where exactly those weeds are in the field. There's a whole nother data layer that is unlocked through that, close scouting with the field. So just a little bit about the solution. You can see we're moving very slowly through the field, steady at 1 mile an hour. And then on the bottom there, you can see some of those layers that we are collecting. Weeds and pests, understanding emergence. That way we can make different replant decisions, and then kind of overlaying a lot of that weather conditions with the plant nutrition in the field. And so here's just a visual of our software, our Alice AI working in the field. You can see on the left there, we're identifying exactly where those plants are in those soybeans fields and understanding what that stand count is. On the right, we were actually identifying the specific weeds there. A big piece of the platform is both the digital experience via web page, also via mobile app. So through the mobile app, you have this very close connection with the field where you can understand, again, what is going on in that field, understanding where exactly that robot is, and then what information is it collecting, understanding heat maps for the weeds, as well as understanding, and this is a newer piece of the solution, but understanding what specific weeds are out there. So right now, we're beginning to detect broadleaf versus grass. As the AI evolves over time, we'll eventually be identifying the specific weeds that are in the field. Obviously, with that, there's opportunity with a multi-pass program to detect where we have resistance, particularly in the field, and other layers like that. And so here's just kind of a side-by-side of as we compare traditional scouting versus Solix. Even if you have some of your best salesmen, best agronomists in the field, some of them are going to have different perspectives on what's going on there. So through the platform, it's a tool for those agronomists, but it's also consistently always seeing the same thing. So It's creating a digital twin of that field where we can even replay that over time, see maybe where those specific weeds typically emerge this time of year based on the growing degree days and other things like that. All of that data is stored in the system, and year over year we can really unlock a lot of data within that field. And now the second layer of the solution is the application piece. This really started as a scout, but evolved into an application tool as well via the sprayer. So just want to highlight that right here you can see that this is the sprayer, but it is still doing all of the scouting that I mentioned on those previous slides. Just some high-level information about it. We have a 40-foot boom on the front, 8 cameras controlling each nozzle. So we have independent nozzle control, utilizing targeted application through Alice AI, essentially acting as that rolling residual in the field. We're solar powered with a battery bank on the underside that essentially allows us to run continuously throughout the whole season. And really the layer that this kind of evolved into is a multi-pass program. We're used to a broadcast, particularly in corn and soybeans, maybe a 2-pass program. But with Solix, what we're looking at now is more of a 4- or 5-pass program where every roughly 7 to 10 days we're going over that acreage in order to maintain that field, kill those weeds when they're small. Obviously, when weeds are smaller, we're able to kill them easier, but also you can prevent them from going to seed as well. So the idea of a rolling residual going across the field, maintaining that field, you're also optimizing product as you do that as well. And let's not forget, we're still scouting as well as we're going over that field. So we can run both scouting and application missions as we're doing that. Here's a visual of the AI working in the field. There we go, it's playing there. You can see on the bottom we have the nozzles. And once it's pink, that's when those nozzles are firing. So we can adjust that setting to do it, conserve more product, or adjust it to spray more liberally. So if we want to broadcast a larger piece of the field, that'll apply more product. So there's sensitivity opportunities there. And on the top, you can see those cameras, which are doing those identification. And just a side-by-side of this application, comparing broadcast towards targeted application, you can see, obviously, we're optimizing product through this practice, but also we're reducing operating costs and optimizing our overall labor as well. And then another key point there is that early and often. We want to be running as soon as we have emergence. Let's go over that field even if we're just scouting and understand different data layers that are happening, but also spraying weeds. If we just spray, 2 times across that whole field, it's still a plus in our book because you're not using fuel, you're not using as much product, but you're controlling that field. So talking a little bit more about implementation and where we're at within the platform rolling out across. We're focused in the Midwest. This season, we had just shy of 50 robots running in Indiana and Illinois. In 2023, we had 18 running across North America. And just speaking to a little bit regarding some of that data. So with those units, we are running in corn and soybeans. Going into the future, we'll be running in cotton and sugarcane. Also in Brazil, we're just now starting that season, so they're rolling out just shy of 50 robots as well in their commercial year 2. And so with that, we're covering 12,000 acres across those machines, just north of 65 million plants monitored throughout that whole season, equating to an 82% reduction in post-herbicides. So you can see we're spraying a little bit more than over a gallon per acre, and in 2023 we actually had a 90% reduction where we were actually spraying less gallons than acreage. Depending on the season, that's going to depend based on weather conditions. Particularly was a wetter season in the Midwest, so we saw more weeds emerge, more late escapes as well. A big layer of this solution with targeted application and scouting is ultimately, can you optimize inputs while also increasing that yield across that same acreage? So we're seeing some good early data on that comparing biomass. When you think about the plant having to metabolize less product and instead use that energy to grow, we're seeing a difference in biomass, which has been equating ultimately to a higher yield in a lot of those use cases. So on the right, you can see that was the broadcast, and on that previous image on the right, we had targeted applied via Solix. So you could see a different biomass with that. In that same field, what we did is we compared the pods per plant, and we actually saw a difference of 9% of pods per plant via broadcast versus targeted. Another piece within that field is the test weight. It also equated to a higher test weight, comparing the two, also thinking about how we don't have to metabolize as much product. And the big number at the end of the day, we were able to increase yield through this practice, a 9 bushel difference in this particular field. Sorry about that. I think it's towards the future of true autonomy. A big piece, and you can cut that music completely if you want, is the auto refill piece. So currently the solution is being refilled via just how you would a big rig, but with a much smaller hose. As we think about true autonomy in the future, the auto refill station will be a key piece of that. Having something, so in this use case, we see the robot is backing up to that auto refill station that's also solar powered, that will self-agitate as well to refill. And what's key about this is we think about grand vision and scouting. If we're able to see different things in the field, and as the AI evolved, that refill station is modular. Can we add different totes to it with different mixes? Thinking about even bios, fungicides, things like that, and then actually go in and refill those products automatically. So that's a big piece of the solution long term, and going forward, that will be commercially available in 2026. And so just speaking again towards the future, as we grow, we will be continuing to grow across the Midwest, moving further west, as well as exploring a lot of different specialty crops such as lettuce, tomatoes, and such through the platform. The platform's meant to be malleable, you know. Right now it started as scouting, and then it became application. There's also a hunter piece of it as well, where that is evolving, where we can attract different insects in order to control fields that way as well. So as you know, we continue to get these out into the market, there's going to be different layers that are added to the platform through the system. So just a key piece of the platform going forward. And that's it. I'd love to answer any questions if anybody has any.
You have a good 10, 15 minutes for Q&A.
Yeah. So the Hunter platform is currently at an R&D level, but we're seeing a lot of use cases, particularly in the south of the United States as well as in Brazil. And so what that does is it's the same platform. However, what it has is an attachment that lights up in a different frequency, and we can do basically 5 different LED layers in order to attract different insects. So the platform then is allowed to run at night, attract those insects, and actually what we kind of have is a bug zapper on the front, but also it's a way to collect insects as well and understand that. So just another layer of that same platform.
So is a heavier reliance on, say, 4 or 5 post-emergent herbicides, is the system refined enough to not exceed the seasonal maximum use rate in one specific area? Does it know where it's spot sprayed for?
Yes, it does, yeah. So it georeferences where it sprays and will kind of correspond to that. Obviously, some of that is evolving. Right now, as you probably know, we have 2 labels. We got spot and broadcast, and we're part of a lot of those conversations where I think industry thinks it's going towards a targeted application being a standard in the future. So I think that's going to even allow products that maybe we've even shelved with higher active ingredients to be sprayed through targeted application. But in the meantime, we're still just following that broadcast label, spraying in those conditions, and then geo-referencing where we spray so we don't overload the AI. So, great question. Yeah, go ahead. What certification, sorry? UL. What does that stand for? Oh, okay. I'm not aware of that. I could get some more information on that. Yeah, so we do the tech detection across the whole front of the boom. We have 8 cameras. Each one controls 3 nozzles, and then each nozzle has independent nozzle control. So we've trained the AI in 4 core crops right now: corn, soybeans, cotton, and sugarcane. Corn and soybeans being the core of the US one. So training it on what that particular crop is, spraying everything that's not that.
Thanks. My question goes actually more in the direction of obstacle detection.
Mm.
So over the whole length of the vehicle, how do you do that?
Sorry, can you say that again?
The obstacle detection.
Yes, yes. So we detect that on the front of the boom, and so we would stop if we saw an object, and then you would get a notification via the mobile app as well as web page.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hey, Taylor, could you talk a little bit about disease control, fungicide applications, and the notion of whether that needs to be more broadcast, or is spot treatment going to be useful there too?
Yeah, that's definitely an evolving piece of the platform. Early on, we tackled herbicide control just because that was the quickest ROI for our customers. As we think of long-term and having something living at the field, fungicide, micros, insecticides are a big piece of that. So we're definitely early on that piece, but really the exciting idea with that and what we've done with a few of our customers is apply, say, a fungicide at the same rate throughout the whole season, but multiple times. So if you're spraying 5 gallons per acre, we would apply that 3 times. And what's exciting about that with the platform is you're extending your limiting factor of time. And so sometimes the optimal time for those products is maybe earlier in the season, but we just don't want to make 3 passes. So we're very early on in some of those applications, but we see that as a big opportunity to push yield.
Quick question. How far are the sprinkling nozzles apart? And also, if the weed or whatever you're doing the spraying is in the middle, how do you handle that?
Yeah, great question. So we're on 20-inch nozzle spacing, 24 nozzles across that 40 feet. We actually have the booms hold out for smaller, so as we expand into different crops, we can even go down to 5-inch nozzle spacing. In regard to how we fire them, usually we're going to be firing 2 in order to get that proper coverage on that. We're rarely fire just 1 because we just need that optimal coverage. So it'll detect that based on the weed size.
And in that way, in terms of optimization, there's a lot of waste of spraying. If you do a spot spraying, if you have more nozzles, then precision spraying might be.
Yeah, exactly. As we go to narrow spacing, there's even more opportunity to optimize product and get better coverage and adjust to different spacing for different crops. So.
Follow-up question. If the weed is larger compared to smaller, do you spray different amounts or the same amount?
So the same amount, we still spray at 20 psi per weed. If you had like a chickweed or a winter residual or something that was larger, we would just turn it on earlier and it would stay on that whole time.
You're putting a lot of machines now on the field. You already know about the mean time to failure, so you need to replace the machine or do some maintenance assistance. How does this work?
Yeah, that's a great question. We're very early on, and we just wrapped up our 2nd commercial year in the U.S. 2nd commercial year just started in Brazil. So really, we don't know some of those, just to be transparent, how long these are going to last. Is it 6 years? Is it 10 years? We're going to kind of find that out. But on the maintenance side, the solution is built in a very simple way. You can see it here. It's not rocket science in regard to the platform. A lot of the value is with the software, the AI, and scouting and such. So the maintenance is very minimal, just front motors on the front wheels. So greasing is a piece of it, but not a ton of maintenance.
I have a really silly question for you.
Yeah, go
so
ahead.
I live in Salinas, and when you see sprayers all over the place, and I'm obviously not in your guys' world, but I'm curious when I look at this picture, where are the tanks?
Yeah, that's actually it's a common question, really. So right there and right there on the underside, we have dual tanks. So 40 gallons in total across those 2 tanks using single plumbing. Obviously, kind of what I referenced with the AI, as it evolves over time with identification, the opportunity is to put a broadleaf killer and a grass killer in there so you could optimize even more. But they're just hidden on the underside there. They're a little bit tough to see, but yeah, they're right there.
Maybe this is another question. In your 2nd year, what is your guys' outlook on when we will see a lot of these in, for example, in the Salinas Valley, and you have 50 of them rolling just that city alone?
Right, right. Yeah. So we're very focused in the Midwest currently, but we're quickly expanding to the West. So 2026 is our target to begin entering the market out West, California, Oregon, Washington, and such.